Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit Sports Talk. And today we're going to review week 9 of the NFL. But first, I got to talk a little Lions. For the first time in NFL history, the Lions lose to the bye week 35-7. Okay, done busting on the Lions because they got enough turmoil going on in their organization right now. Very weird, strange week of football, Maddie.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
like,
no,
honestly,
that's all that fit.
I remember I kind of stopped watching the football for a bit, if I'm being totally honest, on Sunday after the blocked punt scenario. I watched the F1 for a little bit, and then I came back, and all the favorites are losing. All of them lost. What did I get? 7. That's like I got 7 right last week. That is my worst picks since we started.
If the Bears win tonight, I only got 3 wrong.
How?
Because I picked all the underdogs. I picked the Falcons. I picked the Browns. That kind of stuff put me over.
Honestly, the one week where I don't pick any underdogs, really, I just kind of went for it and I just got fucked. Anyway.
That fits with that guy we were just talking about. This one of the people who watched the show commented that with me and Maddie, it's always a disagreement, never an argument. This always is a perfect week for it because you crushed me like 2 weeks ago when we had complete opposite, and this might be my best week and your worst week. So maybe there's something to that. That's our new tagline.
We will be tallying these up. We will be tallying these up at some point in the season to work out where we're all at. And I've kept a nice little booklet of mine to make sure that I've got them easy to tally up. I'm hoping Jay has. Otherwise, he's going to have to go back. He's going to have to go back through and watch every single video.
No, I got it, but my notebook is a mess, so it's going to take me a little bit to go back and find everything. But I do got it. It's just not in the most orderly fashion.
Yeah.
So we'll start with your Cowboys, Maddie, which was a rough day for you. They didn't look good. That shit happens. The only thing I'm going to say about one of the plays, and you brought it up already, the most Cowboy shit to ever happen is that block punt. That's the most Cowboy shit to ever happen.
Yeah. That rule needs to be changed as far as I'm concerned. The ruling wasn't wrong. They were right. Trust me, I delved into the knowledge of. I went and found the exact rule and the wording of it to see if I can come on the show and have a complaint about the refs. No, they got it totally right. Good call. Excellent call by the refs, especially in the heat of the moment that happened there. But as far as that rule is, that's weird to me. Like, I would change that rule to, I understand the muff punt at the end of it, but if the punt is tipped, then all bets are off. As far as I'm concerned, that's what the rule should be. As soon as the punt is tipped, that's it. It's like a pass. As soon as a pass is tipped.
See, I completely disagree because once the ball goes past the line of scrimmage, it's live, and your player decided to touch it.
Yeah. No. I know. I'm very aware. It was the correct calling on the field. They called it completely right. And we sucked, so we didn't deserve the look of it. The look of it anyway. Like, it's fine. I'm not making excuses for the Cowboys. I'm just saying maybe look at that rule. If it's tipped, then it should be let to kind of go. Obviously, if it was the other way around and we were 16-0 up, and I would be cheering and dancing about that rule, though, to be perfectly honest. But the Cowboys they weren't with it. I just want to say at the top of this, before I really go on a tirade about them, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about them at the minute. Obviously, if they keep on playing like that, then I'll be worried. But it looked to me that they weren't ready to play. Dak came back rusty, missed a few throws, few catches were dropped, unlucky with the punt. It just wasn't their day, and you just get games where it's not your day. And the Broncos are better than we think they are. And Teddy Bridgewater played really well, and Patrick, although could have been called for offensive pass interference for a push-off, pushing down on Trayvon Diggs for that touchdown, if you look at it again, but it would have been a really finicky call and could have gone either way, but would have been a really playing by the
Here,
rules.
let me decode it something for everybody who watches football. The second they say they were hand fighting, what they're really saying is they both had pass interference and we're not calling it on either of them.
Yeah, and that, like, it's fair if that's. I just go back to the Chargers game last year where Gallup gets called for a push off where they're both hand fighting as well. So it's that consistency in the reffing. I wouldn't have particularly called what they were doing hand fighting until Patrick.
No, I'm just saying. But as soon as you hear that term, it just means both guys we're following each other, and we're just gonna let it go.
Yeah, and Trayvon Diggs, it's a problem with him, and it's a part of growing up. He's heard you're going to break the interception record this year. You're going to break the interception record this year. So he's biting on everything. A couple of second moves gets him done. Shannon Sharp was talking about it on his Undisputed with Skip. And I don't really listen to them on a lot of things. I like to listen to them to get a point of view on where the media's head is with the whole stuff. But when Shannon Sharp is talking routes and receiving, you listen because that guy knows what he's talking about. And just a couple double moves is what it takes to get rid of Trayvon Diggs. He needs to work on that side of his game because it's not the first time that he's been burnt trying to bite on a ball. And Dak Prescott was rusty and just was missing passes that he's been hitting all year. Maybe he was feeling that calf and not leaning into the throws as much as he could have been doing.
Well, yeah, and Teddy got to heat up because that running game hit you guys in the mouth right away.
Yeah.
But I want to say one last thing on that punt. To go back to the always a disagreement, never an argument. I think the rule is like perfect because it makes perfect sense to me. You don't. So, like I said, that's just another way to fit right into that. Always a disagreement, never an argument, right? But I think a lot of that Teddy Bridgewater going off had a lot to do with the running game. And I text you during the game, and I was being sarcastic, and I said, well, I'm really happy I didn't start Melvin Gordon today.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you would have got a lot of points if you started Melvin Gordon. The run game thing kind of didn't make any sense to me. I think that's the thing. The other stuff, I'm like, okay, not our day. The offense not firing for one game against a good defense. All right, not our day. People were rusty. People drop passes. That won't happen again, as far as I'm concerned. The run defense was really strange because it looked like last year's Cowboys in terms of the run defense. But then in plays, they just blew up the middle. Like, I can't pronounce the guy's name, and I'm really sorry. It's like Igazua or something like that. I practiced it really well on draft day. I remember that. I'm going to have to go back and practice it again because he looked awesome blowing up the middle to start the game. So how are they running the ball if we're destroying the middle of the line every single time? Were we just breaking contain? What was going on? Every time I looked up, there seemed to be a big run play, and then the next two plays were us blowing them up in the middle and getting a sack. Because we got Micah Parsons came away with like 3 sacks in that game. We were making plays and just then couldn't tackle. And I sent you this text message, and it's something that I just want to put out there. American football players can't tackle. They don't. If they tried to tackle like that on a rugby pitch, they would be playing the same level of rugby as me. And that's shit.
Because they don't let them tackle in the preseason anymore. That's the problem. Like in training camp, they don't let them tackle anymore. So
it's surreal to me. And obviously the helmet makes a difference because you can't see as much. My little brother, he plays linebacker for Manchester University at the minute. And he also used to play flanker when he was a bit younger, which is a position in rugby. And he says tackling is harder because you've got the pads, so you can't wrap around as easily and you can't like look up. So when you tackle in rugby, you've got your head down to protect your head. You've got your head down to protect your head, and then you're looking up like through your eyes, but you can't do that in a helmet. So that is different. But then in rugby, you also have to like wrap around. There's more technique that you have to do. So the whole, like a few of those runs were just so stoppable by, instead of trying to turn the ball over and rip the ball or whatever, just take the guy to the ground. Like just take him to the ground. Stop giving them first downs just because you're trying to rip the ball. Like take him to the ground.
No, I agree. I watched it happen 2 weeks ago with Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah. Take them to the ground. Like
that's a whole different ball game if they tackle Zeke behind the line and the end of the game. You know what? Yeah. But I'm not saying they should have won. But I'm agreeing with your point.
Sometimes it's just better though to just take a guy to the ground. And I understand the NFL's a game of possession. I totally get it. But sometimes you just need to know when the play's over and just take the guy to the ground.
All right, Maddie, on to the guy who did not play this week for his team, who's been the topic of every media outpost. He goes on Pat McAfee, and Pat McAfee has become the most famous show because it's been on every sports show this week. The Packers versus the Chiefs. I don't know, man. This whole discussion to me about this game is Jordan Love. And I know there's a lot of Packer fans who I've seen, maybe I'm wrong, but spinning the narrative where I think Jordan Love looked bad. And they're all like, well, you outplayed Patrick Mahomes. So what the fuck does that mean? So what? Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is amazing, but he looks like shit this year too.
Yeah.
So
Patrick Mahomes is having a down year.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Jordan Love, I was a big fan of him coming out of college because I thought he was going to sit minimum 2 to 3 years. I thought he was a project, right? So I don't know, man. I think Packer fans, as much as they're turning on Rodgers right now, some of them for the vaccine, if they don't want to live life with Jordan Love, they better turn around and start making Aaron Rodgers feel loved.
Yeah, and the whole Jordan Love outplayed Patrick Mahomes narrative is Patrick Mahomes was playing against the Packers defense, which is all right. And Jordan Love was playing against the Chiefs defense, which is awful, like a god-awful defense. And for a pack, and he had their full receiver core. Devontae Adams was out there, Aaron Jones was out there, their full receiving core, and they only scored 7 points. Like, Jordan Love isn't good enough. Yeah, he might become good enough, but in today's NFL, you don't get that time to sit. That's not how the NFL works. There's too many talented players out there to let a guy sit for that long. Without Aaron Rodgers, they fucked it as far as I'm concerned.
He only had 2 big boy passes in that whole game. Like where you go, oh, that's starting quarterback type shit. One of them was when he was backed up to his own end zone and he hit Devontae Adams on a rope on the sideline. But there was only 2 where I stepped back and go, oh, those were big boy throws. And I'm not saying that he can't develop, he can't become whatever, but somebody commented under what do you think of Jordan Love on the Yankee and the Brit, and he said, without Aaron Rodgers, they're the Lions.
If this is the reason that you jeopardize your entire future with Aaron Rodgers, if Jordan Love is the reason that you jeopardize that relationship, you made a mistake. You've really fucked up. Whoever made that decision should lose their job as far as I'm concerned with that. Not even if Jordan Love becomes a great quarterback next year, because they've lost Aaron Rodgers in terms of, like, they've lost the public opinion outside of Green Bay. They've lost the public opinion battle as a organization already. So that whoever did this that's a terrible job by them.
I think the vaccine thing is pushing Rodgers closer to wanting to leave, because I think for a little while he was leaning towards staying in Green Bay this year because everything it sounded, he was having fun. He was enjoying it. Gutekunst is listening and having conversations, right? Things are going better, but now he's just getting attacked by his own fans. I don't know if that's a good thing. I will say a little change of the subject. Now, Dylan looked good. Dylan looked good last night or yesterday, but is that a product of a bad Chiefs run defense? Yeah. Or did A.J. Dillon, is he just coming along, which is really weird because running backs don't usually come along and develop. They're one of the few positions straight out of college you plug and play, except for blocking. And it was weird to me. They played a lot of A.J. Dillon with Jordan Love. Didn't it almost seem like they were trying to see what the future would look like? I don't know. Yeah. It was, maybe I'm overthinking.
A.J. Dillon's a decent running back. He's not Aaron Jones, though. And Jordan Love is not Aaron Rodgers, like in any sense of the word. But I don't get what their plan was. If this is who Jordan Love is, then I really don't get what their plan was, especially when you look at all the amazing quarterbacks that came out in the next draft. And I'd still take Kellen Mond over Jordan Love. I'd still take Kyle Trask, even though we haven't seen these guys yet. So it's not really fair for me to say that. But like, they could have given up everything to go up and get a Mac Jones or or the 49ers managed to give up everything to go get a Trey Lance. And I mean, Trey Lance hasn't shown a lot, but he's shown he's better than what Jordan Love was last night, as far as I'm concerned. AJ Dillon was fine. I think it's a Kansas City. I think he's a decent running back, and it's a terrible Kansas City running defense.
They both should have lost that game as bad as they played. That was sloppy football. If you could have two losers, that was the game. The Chiefs are lucky they played an Aaron Rodgerless Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, and that's what, for that game to end 13-7 at the start of the season, you've got to say, imagine telling us that it was going to be 13-7 in that game at the start of the season. That would have been absolutely unbelievable to think. It's still unbelievable to think now with how terrible the Kansas City defense is. But yeah, to be held to 7 points by that defense is not a good look for you.
No, both teams got some stuff to work on, but at least in the Packers locker room, number 12's coming back.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing that they've got to work on is about a walk back through the door, so that's fine.
Well, on to a game that just blew my mind, and I'm sure it blew yours. Urban Meyer wins his first game on U.S. soil. Bills, Jags, there's something going on in the Bills, and the only thing from watching, and I watched that whole game, well, the 40-minute game this morning, they got zero running game. And I think that is the problem. They're looking at Josh Allen, and they're like, all right, Josh, go do something. That's their offense. Okay, Josh, go do it.
Yeah. What happened to this flat track offense that they had? And then all of a sudden it's gone. What's going on with that? I don't really understand. And I mean, when you have a guy on the opposite side who gets a sack, fumble, and interception, and also happens to be called Josh Allen, that's the first time that's happened in NFL history, that somebody with the same name has sacked a quarterback with the same name and the fumble and the interception as well. What a day for one Josh Allen and not the other.
And one Josh Allen wins all the time. The other Josh Allen can never win, and they reverse roles.
Yeah, well, again, if you said at the start of the season that the Bills would be held to 9 points by the Jacksonville Jaguars, 6 points by the Jacksonville Jaguars,
I would have bet you 10 cases of Mountain Dew. You get the joke.
Yeah, I mean, what? It's surreal. Yeah, I agree with you. They don't have a run game, but that still shouldn't have been anything. Again, I think it's like the Cowboys. They just didn't click, and the Jags managed to get it done. I mean, they still only scored 9 points, but I guess the Bills are a good D.
I don't know. I don't know if I should worry about the Bills. I'm not really yet. I still think the AFC is kind of weak compared to the NFC. They'll probably figure it out. I think it's their running game. Bills Mafia, I absolutely love you. And if you want to crush me for this, feel free. Lose another game or two, and your diva wide receiver is going to become a problem.
I knew you would find a way to do something like that.
Yeah, I'm petty.
To step on Diggs, poor guy. Jay hates this dude. No reason. Never met him in his entire life.
Oh, I got a reason. It's all the shitty tweets he did to force his way out of Minnesota. I don't have a problem with you wanting to leave. I have a problem with the way he did it. Yeah. It's my same problem with Adrian Peterson. If you want to exit, that's fine. But all the shots you took on the way out the door for an organization who backed you during your worst times, neither here nor there. I'm getting over the Adrian Peterson thing finally because I'm kind of excited to watch him play for the Titans, but we'll get to that in a minute. Maddie, on a game I don't even want to talk about because it went the exact same way I thought it would. Vikings versus Ravens. I told you I picked the Ravens to win, but I said this is a game the Vikings could fuck around and win just because that's what the Vikings do. And they almost did, but in Vikings fashion this year, they found a way to lose a close game at the end when they stopped them in overtime and could have went to it. And this isn't why we lost. There was a lot of game to play, but that was the worst horseshit. That was a horse collar tackle call ever. He grabbed him at the bottom of the jersey. Back again to not excuses, but we need full-time refs. I'm just not going to stop beating
full-time refs and the full-time refs and the replay. That quick replay guide would have sorted that out. That would have been totally fine. Get VAR in American football. That would have been totally fine. But honestly, how do you guys do it? You and the Ravens, by the way, maybe it's the purple, but you just love a close game. You'll find a way to make a game ridiculously close. The both of you, you'll find a way to do it. The only problem is the Vikings find a way to lose it and the Ravens find a way to win it.
That's what
same.
distinguishes champions from people not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Who can win those close games, because most NFL games are decided by less than 7 points.
Yeah, we have a saying that the winner of the Premier League is the person who wins the most when they're playing like shit, is what we kind of put it to. And the Ravens weren't playing like shit and the Vikings weren't really playing like shit either. Like, you both played a good game, 34-31, big game. Defenses probably could have been better, but it's no shame losing to the Ravens.
If the Vikings lose their next 2 games, Zimmer is fired at Thanksgiving break.
Wow.
That's just my call. Not that I want to see it happen, but that's what I think's going to happen. And if they fire Zimmer, they better take Spielman with them. Not that I hate him either, but like, how are you going to just let the coach eat the whole thing when Spielman got rid of the whole secondary on the coaching staff? So I think there's a lot of blame to go around, and I think they clean house. And the worst thing is they're going to fire their whole upper management right after they let George Payton walk and go to Denver, where he could have been our replacement GM. But that's my wild pick, is if they lose the next 2 games, he's fired at Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, and it's a shame because he's a good coach. He could go to other places and be successful as well. But I think it's just as sometimes you just need to change the scenery, both the team and the coaching staff. Well, I think
they need to back the Brinks truck up to a guy like Lincoln Riley or somebody, because I am but I'm just sick of recycled old NFL coaches. Don't go grab somebody who got fired from an NFL job 2 different times. Let's try something new if we're going to do it. Let's bring in a young guy. Let's try something new. Let's not recycle old coaches.
Yeah, you sure you don't want Mike McCarthy? You sure you don't want him? You can have him. It's fine.
No, we're going to take Kellen Moore. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm shitting bricks about. Like, as soon as coaching jobs come open with, and imagine what Kellen Moore could do with.
I don't want Zimmer to be fired, but if you do fire him that early, it gives you a leg up on the coaching search. I wouldn't mind Brian Leftwich either. But my thing is, if you're going to bring in an offensive guy, you got to somehow keep Andre Patterson, who is the assistant head coach and the co-defensive coordinator, because you don't want to switch our defense that much. I mean, a new perspective is fine, but you don't want a whole new system on that defense, because if you watch the defense, like we've talked about, they're good at the back end. They're good at the linebackers. They just need corners. They're good up front. So don't switch everything on us. Don't get crazy. You're going to bring in an offensive guy. Try to keep somebody from our defense to keep that defensive scheme.
Yeah, of course. But you also get a hand up on any situation. If you go for an offensive coach, you can get the best offensive coaches in the game, because you have Kirk Cousins, who can run any offense you want him to because he's a smart guy. You have Justin Jefferson, one of the best young talents in the NFL. Adam Thielen, who's an absolute monster. And Dalvin Cook, who's an absolute monster.
And our offensive line looks pretty good this year.
Yeah,
we've got young guys who finally seem to be like they're the future.
Yeah, play into your skill. But obviously you want Zimmer to keep his job. You're firmly on the Zimmer truck.
I like Zimmer, but I'm at the point now where
till the end of the season.
I'm at the point now where it's like, I don't know how to defend him on the fact that I don't blame him so much for what's going on, but it's still going on, and he's not getting the best out of his guys. And I don't know. I think some of it's Clint Kubiak, but again, that's Mike Zimmer hired Clint Kubiak, so he's giving me less and less ammo to defend him with.
Yeah, and I think the Vikings are at a stage now where for him not to get fired, you have to have a really good season. So you do want him to stay because will have had a good season if he stays. But the only reason he will stay is he has to have a fucking amazing season.
Well,
and that is not on Zimmer. That is on the fact that he's taking it as far as they can get with the Vikings.
Right, and they lose 2 more games. I think that's where they're mathematically out of the playoffs. So that's when I'm like,
sense. It would make sense to cut him because it gives you a leg up. It will make sense to cut him because it gives you a leg up. 100%.
All right. On a game that I was excited because this was the game that I called that I was the least convinced on when the Browns went and took out the Bengals. I made that pick purely gut, right, Maddie? purely gut. No, I told you that on the podcast. I got zero reasoning. Something in my gut says the Browns win this game. I was completely caught off base. It wasn't the greatest game by either team, but was Odell the problem? Or is that just an overreaction? That's not what I'm saying. This is what the internet's saying.
Yeah, I think the Bengals just confuse me more than anything because we know the Browns are a good team. We know that there's a good team in Cleveland somewhere, and they just needed to find it. And we know Kevin Stefanski is going to find it. And I think now they're going to start to show us they're a better and better team. And it could be the Odell thing that lights the spark. I'm not going to say that it's Odell Beckham's fault. That
no idea. Yeah,
I'm not going to say that. I don't think because there wasn't anything. There was no hint of him being toxic until 2 weeks ago, really. And
it wasn't
Cleveland
even toxic.
Is a leaky organization. So
they just said that he didn't talk or interact with many people. That's not toxic either. So I don't know what was going on there, but I do know Jones came out to play without Odell Beckham being there.
Yeah, definitely. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, man, I've said it on the podcast before, is a top class third 2.5 wide receiver at the minute, and he can get better. He can become a really, really solid second. He is a really good wide receiver. And the fact that he's not a star makes him an even better second wide receiver. It's why Odell Beckham was not a good second wide receiver, because he needs so many targets. And it's the reason why Juju Smith-Schuster needs to take a peg down, because that'll make him a better second wide receiver and things like that. But Donovan Peoples-Jones knows what he's doing. We know that run game's absolutely fire. Nick Chubb went off, and which is good for your fantasy team, I'm assuming. I haven't really.
Yeah, I'm hanging on right now with the lead, but he's got a receiver tonight, so we'll see what happens. Yeah. And I think I can lose one more game and win out and still make the playoffs, but that's it. So I don't want that loss today. And there's 2 games I can't lose because they're against people in front of me. So I'm in this weird spot.
Yeah.
So I need this win. I
know I just won in division again, thanks to the fact that Dak is the hero of garbage time. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, I think it's more the Bengals that confuse me, because we know the Browns are good. So are the Bengals good? Are they mediocre? Are they a bad team that plays really well? They confuse me.
What they are is a team that's been inept since Carson Palmer. So the fact is we're expecting, like the Browns, way too much, way too soon. Yeah. I think this is part of the process. I think they're going to be a good team. They're more of what we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. So I think they started off hot. They're coming a little bit back down to earth, but they're still building for the future. So I don't think Bengals fans have to worry. What do you expect after that many years of being bad?
And we know they need an O-line. We know in that division that they need to really, really fix their O-line. And we're kind of sick of saying it. Jamar Chase, they proved us wrong. Jamar Chase was a good pick. You want that talent, and he has a good connection with Joe Burrow. You want that talent, and it's good that they've got that. But they need to go wide receiver heavy in this draft or free agency. I'm sure they have some cap room somewhere. Everybody seems the only players that are playing well for them are all rookies. So they must they must have some cap room somewhere to do something, even if their owners do hate paying money for anything.
If I'm mistaken, somebody let me know, but I just seen a cap space room for all the teams listed the other day, and I think they're in the top 5.
Yeah, the Bengals would be a great place for any GM to go if they had a decent owner. If the Bengals get overtaken by some Qatari oil hero, which happens a lot in European football, and it doesn't happen at all in American football. You must have stricter laws on stuff like that.
No, it's because you need 3/4 of the owners to approve a sale, and there's no way U.S. rich billionaires. I was shocked they let Khan in, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They're trying. I think they didn't want anybody outside the U.S. for a long time. I think it is what it was,
Yeah, I know what you mean. And Khan's, where's Khan from? He's for some reason I feel like he's British just because he owns a lot of
but that's what I'm saying. I was even shocked they let him in with him owning British teams.
Yeah, him owning British teams is the only reason he's been let in is because he
opens the London
expand
market.
the game to London, the London market. Yeah. But if they get somebody in who has loads of money and will let them spend the top of the cap budget and will get them some decent training facilities, Cincinnati is a good place to have a team. I'm sure they'd love an amazing football team as well. Like, it's not like a backwater city either, is it? Like, Cincinnati's all right. A GM should love to go there and play around with their cap space and their star quarterback and their star wide receiver. Like, you know,
and Joe Mixon, and we can keep going. Higgins, Joe Mixon, they got.
There's a great job there for a GM. There is a fantastic job there for a GM.
Well, Maddie, to the game I probably have the most to say about. It's the Rams versus the Titans. Wow. I just put, wow. Matt Stafford would not have been killed so much, but he went back to the Lions. Matt Stafford last night. That was a rough game. He did some Lions type shit with those interceptions. That would not have been a safety. And I even said it when he whipped that ball. You were still out of the end zone when you threw it. It would not, or before you got ripped back and threw it. Two horrible passes. But what really, I'm sorry, guys. This is my pet peeve this year. But Aaron Donald had the worst roughing the passer on third down. He pushed him. He didn't even fall. He pushed him. And the refs didn't even know the freaking 15-yard penalty rule on the kickoff. That was supposed to be a re-kick. No questions asked. They let them have it on the end of the play. The refs don't even know the freaking rules.
There were a couple of calls in that game where the refs seemed to get the rules in the wrong place, right? There was all the numbers wrong. He was doing the signals wrong. That ref seemed to get hit by some serious nerves, as far as I'm concerned, in that game. Was that his first game as the head referee on the TV screen? He looked like he was shitting himself like the entire time. Maybe it was his first like big primetime game as the head guy. And if they had more training and got paid full pay and worked full time, then that might not have happened. But
that was a good game, though.
Good game. Good game. The Titans are a real team, even without Derrick Henry, to go in and beat the Rams, with the Rams being the way that they are on their defensive line. I mean, there's some serious talent in that Titans game. Tannehill is a gem, a quarterback for that organization. He works so incredibly well. And then Matthew Stafford, a darling of the podcast, somebody who we absolutely love here, the Yankee and the Brick podcast, just had a shitty game as well. And it's the only saving grace for the Cowboys this week that all the other top NFC teams lost, apart from the Cardinals, who we'll speak about in a second.
I really like Matt Stafford. I do, but I literally had to post a meme taking a shot at him saying you can take Matt Stafford out of the Lions, but you can't take the Lions out of Matt Stafford. Granted, it just made me laugh. It was a joke. But, man, the reason – and that wasn't a close game when I say it was a good game. It was one of those games where you kept thinking, okay, the Rams are going to come back right here. Okay, the Rams are going to – I didn't turn it off till the end of the fourth quarter because I was like, oh, there's a shot. There's still a shot with Matt Stafford.
There was still a shot all the way.
I'm really impressed with the Titans. Really impressed with the Titans.
Yeah, the Titans defense looked good. Like, the Titans defense looks real. To hold that offense to 16 points and then to score 28 points on that defense as well. That was an all-round great performance by the Titans, especially without their star MVP candidate, Derrick Henry. And excellent work by them. And just to finish on the point with Matthew Stafford, he's an excellent quarterback, and the people that are saying he's gone back to Lions Matthew Stafford would walk into most teams in the NFL. So get real, man. Like, he's a fantastic player.
Just had a bad game.
He made a couple of stupid calls, and that one where he's coming out at the end zone, he's trying to make something happen. He's trying to throw it away and ends up zipping it straight into somebody's arm. And if he manages to throw that away whilst getting spun around, everybody's saying what an amazing arm talent he is. So, you know, and we all know he could have zipped it to the sidelines.
I think it was because he had two awful picks in his own end of the field that made that, you know. But like I said, it was just a bad game. Like, Tom Brady's the GOAT and threw how many interceptions a week ago? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you can have a bad game as a quarterback. It happens. Like, you guys, it doesn't mean that they suck. Elway's had bad games. Marino and Montana, people seem to act like these guys have never had a bad game. I watch Aaron Rodgers have bad games. The only thing is somehow the Packers seem to figure out how to win, even when the Rodgers has a bad game.
Yeah, Dak had a shitty game this week. And he's a top 10 quarterback as well. Josh Allen had a shitty week, and nobody says Josh Allen's garbage. Patrick Mahomes is having an entire shitty season, but I'm still blaming that on his family.
And who knows what it is, but I don't think that Patrick Mahomes is not going to be great again. I just think he's got to get past whatever it is. And maybe it takes this whole season and he comes back next season, but I'm not worried about him.
Yeah.
On to a game though, where I'm very impressed with a quarterback. Cardinals 49ers.
What?
Did 35-year-old Colt McCoy come out and play the game he needed to play?
The game that nobody expected.
It proves how good the Cardinals roster is, because they didn't have Hopkins, they didn't have Kyler Murray. Yeah,
what? The Cardinals are real, man. I told you at the start of the season, and I wish I backed them more at the start of the season when I could. 31 points with Colt McCoy. Who knew that the Cardinals' offense wasn't just Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins? They're obviously talented all over the field, and we just haven't seen it yet. Also, James Conner, the Pittsburgh Steelers, ruined that guy. He looked amazing. And do you know who has him in his fantasy team? This guy. 40 points with James Conner.
And it also shows that the 49ers aren't as good as people think they are.
The 49ers aren't an amazing football team this year, no. Not in that division. They'd win like a couple of other divisions, including possibly the NFC East. But I
don't know.
Are they as good as the Cowboys? We don't know. But yeah, the 49ers aren't as good as people think they are. They're not this top tier team that everybody seems to think and give credit to their roster for. And it's just because their quarterback gets injured. It's because they're not that good.
No, I agree. I think that pretty much sums up that game, though, because the Cardinals, I was very impressed with, which it wouldn't have shocked me if they would have won because of the talent on that defense and that team, but it's how they won and the fact that A.J. Green retired a week after he retired in the fourth quarter.
He came back.
And then everybody watch out, 4:00 Eastern time today, which is, I think 4 minutes from now, or no, an hour and 4 minutes from now, OBJ will be able to see if he clears waivers, where he goes, what's going to go on. I first picked the Raiders for his landing spot now that the Raiders signed Deshaun Jackson. And I see OBJ really said he wants to be at the 49ers, the Rams, like Seattle. He wants to be on that West Coast for some reason. Maybe he goes
for some reason.
Well, no, maybe he hasn't said anywhere else, is my point. Like, just that for some reason. Vegas is close enough to the East Coast where maybe they're in, and I think he would be a good addition because of everything with Ruggs and things like that.
Deshaun Jackson just signs for the Raiders, by the way.
That's what I said. With him there, I don't know if that'll happen, but we'll be able to find out probably in the next 24 hours what's going to happen with OBJ.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know where I would want him to go. I kind of like the Chargers as a spot for him a little bit. I like the Chargers more than I like the Rams as a spot for him, but it seems the Rams are kind of clearing the way with getting rid of Deshaun Jackson for him to go there.
If he clears waivers, he'll sign a cheap deal probably to go with them. If somebody claims him, then they have to pay that 7 point whatever million. But if he clears waivers, the Browns have to pay him that. And then he can double dip, so he won't care about taking a little 1 year deal to get on a contender. And if OBJ goes to the Rams and him and Stafford figure it out with Cooper Kupp and everybody else on that team, and people better watch out.
Yeah, and OBJ is a good wide receiver. It's not anything to do with the fact that he's not a good wide receiver, and he's not a toxic personality. He has too many massive friends in the in in all industries. It seems he's massive friends with. I know he's big friends with Kylian Mbappe, who's a world class footballer from France. I know he's LeBron James came to his defense the other day. He's clearly a good guy. Like, you know, he's clearly not a toxic dude.
Follow in LeBron James's footsteps when LeBron told his mother to stop with all the comments and the tweets about his career. OBJ needs to say something to his dad. But outside of that, I don't think OBJ was the issue. I think his dad rocked the boat more than OBJ did.
Yeah, and I think the Browns, it wasn't a good fit in the end, although it looked like a good fit. It should have fit, but it wasn't a good fit in the end. And that's the only reason it didn't work. And that's a cap space issue as well. They would have kept him on if it wasn't for the cap space issues. And then the drama caused by his dad.
Now, the Packers would be a great landing spot with him, with Devontae Adams here, with Green Bay being very mellow, a place to live. I just don't think it would fit OBJ. So I don't think he would sign here. But I think that he would be a good fit football-wise.
Yeah, definitely. And who says that it can't happen? I mean, that would be a great.
I heard Jerry Jones wants him out of Jerry's own mouth.
I don't want him, but
I agree with you. But I'm just telling you what I heard about Jerry Jones or heard Jerry Jones say.
The only reason that you would take him is if Michael Gallup is asking for an absolute shit ton of money, like number one wide receiver money. That's the only reason that you do take him.
Well, I think you just take him for this year, trying to win a Super Bowl, and then you figure it all out after. But I think
don't really have
CeeDee
space
Lamb
for
and
him
Amari
to do
Cooper,
that.
is there enough balls to go around?
Yeah, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson. There's not enough space to get. There's not enough for us to get around to get our wide receivers that we already have on the field.
Well, all right, everybody. I think we did it. That's our Week 9 review. Stay tuned. We will be previewing Week 10. Can't believe I just said that we're at Week 10 already. That's crazy. And stay tuned. Maddie and I are going to drop this week's power rankings, but we're also this week going to drop you a video so we can explain why we picked them the way we did.
Yeah, you guys loved the power rankings last time, so keep that interaction going. And please slate us for every single pick that you want. I know I picked the Saints in the top 10, and I regret it ever since doing it. So don't you worry. Just slate us for the amount that you want to slate us. It's
Cowboys Nation is at me this week because I put the Cowboys at like 7 or something, maybe 8. They're at me though. Cowboys Nation was at me, but I'm okay. I love it. I love reading this stuff, and I just can't believe. Like, I want to thank you guys all so much out there who watch us. Our videos are growing. I mean, we've doubled in the last week just on viewerships. And interactions are growing too, and we love it. So if there's anything you want to say to us, good or bad, tag at Yankee and the Brit in it, and one of us will respond to you.
Just fucking slate us as much as you want. I don't care.
Yeah. Get all American on the Brit. He can handle it.
Yeah, really fucking come at me. I'm really good for it. Let's go.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.